Hi, folks. This week's music lesson is a combination of music, history, geography, anger, sadness, and optimism. I would like to address what has been happening in the United States. Now, we spoke earlier this year about the Africans' first experience with the Americas, and it was horrible, right? There's the belly of the ship with the slaves inside of it, and they're being transported over to live the rest of their life in bondage, working for free and being poorly treated. Now, in today's world, technically, everybody has the same rights, but it's not working. It's not working yet. And so I would like to address this. Now, here's where my optimism comes from. It says right here in this Globe and Mail article. So the Globe and Mail is one of Canada's absolute top newspapers, really well researched, really well written. This is not a tabloid. This is the real thing. The protests were some of the largest in the country's long history of caustic race relations, rivaling in size the civil rights demonstrations that took down segregation laws in the 1960s. What that is saying is that assemblies or protests this large that happened in the 1960s were the reason that white people and black people got to sit together in the same restaurants in certain states, in states where they were not allowed to be together in the same movie theater, sitting on the same bus, going to the same school. It was protests like this that ended up making the change. Now, I have to say I'm really disappointed at how violent things have gotten, but I also have never experienced racialization, not to my knowledge. I have never been beaten, nor has anyone in my family, for the fact of the color of my skin or my heritage or my belief system. I've never experienced that. I got pushed around a lot when I had long hair. I used to have long hair, and I got a lot of attention from the authorities just for having long hair. It was the strangest thing when I cut my hair and suddenly started treated differently, and that was big. It was an eye-opener. So listen, I want to show you some things that I hope that you'll do a little bit of more reading on. And we got talking about Gordon Lightfoot in our last lesson, and I can't believe there's a song called Black Day in July, and I want to introduce you to the song Black Day in July. This will be in your materials that you can look at each one of these links. So Gordon Lightfoot's Black Day in July. It is a song that he wrote when in 1967 was a very, very hot summer in the United States. 1967, an after-hours club, so a club that may or may not have been operated legally. The police broke in and started to arrest people, and it exploded in riots. Now, it was race-related riots, as in the African Americans were absolutely totally sick of being treated as they had been treated. Now, 1 year later, Martin Luther King Jr., he was assassinated, and it felt to the people that he was For some, he was an absolute hero. For others, it scared them that the African Americans were being given such a strong voice. That was only in 1968, so 1 year after these 1967 Detroit riots, and we have more rioting, race-related. There were other riots that happened, but then perhaps you've heard of a man named Rodney King. Rodney King in 1992, I'll never forget this. It was my grade 12 year, and people didn't walk around with cameras in their pockets back then. It was very rare for someone to have a video camera with them. Of course, we didn't have cell phones, but a civilian, so just a common person like you or me, took a video of a police beating of an unarmed man named Rodney King, and it got posted, it got shown on the news, and Los Angeles blew up in riots. Now, then not so long ago, just a couple summers ago, in 2017, a very strange thing happened where a group of white supremacists, they were holding a rally in Virginia protesting the government, who wanted to remove the statue of the general who led the South in the American Civil War. So remember, the South, they were the people fighting to keep slavery. So this General Robert E. Lee, his statue was scheduled to be removed, and some white supremacists gathered to protest this. People who thought that was wrong, they had a counter protest, protesting against the white supremacists, and a young man thought it was a good idea to drive his car through this crowd of peaceful protesters, injuring many, knocking many people down. And it was absolutely shocking, and more rioting happened because of it. Now, most recently, we have these riots happening as we speak, and the only good that I can think of that might come of this is that potentially policies will change. So, with that, I would like you to take a look back at this sheet. And please, you don't have to click on this Tragically Hip one. I just thought it was interesting. Another great Canadian band. But please, if the only thing you look at is this one of Black Day in July, and you can read the lyrics, and what you'll see, I think, is that really the dates have changed, but the problem is still there. And it is absolutely time for it to stop. And we are the people who have a vote. This is what democracy means, and we are people who can stand up and say that we don't agree with things happening this way. So my family and I will attend a demonstration on Saturday at Guelph City Hall. We will socially distance ourselves, or physically distance ourselves, and we'll wear masks and all of the appropriate measures, but we are attending. All of us feel strongly about it. I'll take some footage there, and I'll share that with you.
We tried to protest peacefully, and you attacked us with tear gas and rubber bullets. So this is why we were cold and why we're mad. We're allowed to be angry, and you are allowed to have your voice. Your voice is perfect.
This was 2 days ago, but it's still very, very present in the conversations that are happening in my household, at least. my two sons and I attended this rally, and I have to say it was staggering how many people showed up in such force. It was, I mean, I was expecting 1,000 people. The news media is guessing that 5,000 people showed up. That has to be the largest gathering of people I've ever seen in Guelph for any purpose. This is bigger than when Guelph Storm has done well in the playoffs. This is bigger than Hillside Festival. This was absolutely just a very, very powerful moment to be there. Look at that. I've never seen the streets like this. And it was very hard to be socially distanced. My boys and I, we kept having to move because the crowd was very impassioned, and it was hard to keep our distance, really. So we ended up having to go and just be on the sidelines. And I really, really hope that there isn't a backlash from this with COVID-19 numbers. Now, I would say that 95% of the people were wearing masks, and that, free masks were being handed out, free sanitizer. We were constantly encouraged to keep social distance, but there was only so much that you could do in a crowd like that. So as a final note, why am I wearing pink right now? Well, I'm wearing pink because I take this racism as the equivalent of what happens when the bullying mentality makes it all the way into adulthood. Right? If you've ever been stopped by a teacher at school for doing something that at least was perceived as being mean, you got to be grateful about that to a certain extent, because we need these checks and balances. We need people in our lives to say, this kind of behavior works for society, works for us, and this kind of behavior is against society. And I believe that inherently we are good, inherently that we seek approval from the herd, from the crowd. And so the crowd, it is so important for the crowd to say that building people up is better than tearing people down. And that's why I'm wearing pink.